Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Saturday Squash from the team here at the Golden Shovel podcast. This week we have a fourth man, and we are going to go through our NXT Mount Rushmores. Let's get in there. No fluff. We're going to go straight into this because there's four of us, 4 packs each. This is going to take us all night unless we start, and we've still got a podcast to edit. We've got a fourth member, Daz's brother Adam, has joined us this week. This is really simple. We each get to pick 4 superstars. I have to run a wildcard rule. The wildcard rule is straightforward. You can pick a tag team or another type of group, person, whatever, for one of your picks, as long as you can defend it. And if you want to defend it and come up with something a bit mental, we're going to challenge you back on it. Everybody gets 90 seconds for the first pick. They can explain their methodology, how they've came about their picks, and every pick after that is 60 seconds. I'm going to go first. I'm starting the clock, and I'm going straight in here with the wild card. I think it's important to remember that NXT originally and predominantly the purpose of it was to develop talent for the main roster. And I'm going to start with a wild card pick, and I'm going to go way out to left field and pick people that you don't think of when you think NXT, and I'm actually taking the Shield. I think you had Seth Rollins as an NXT champion who came from the Indies and went to the main roster and became one of the top wrestlers of all time. You had Dean Ambrose, who came from the Indies with the most experience, big debut main roster, world champion, does something else now, I'm not sure what he does. And then you had the guy in Roman Reigns who was the non-wrestling athlete, came from a different sport, went through a developmental system, developed, became a guy who we now discuss as will end up on the Mount Rushmore of greatest professional wrestlers of all time at some point. And I know I've not used my full 90 seconds, and I know that I'm open to challenge on this one because they don't think of these guys when you think NXT, but these guys predate the black and gold era. They were there when it was, the purpose was to develop talent for the main roster. And I know it's a bit left field, but I've picked the Shield as my pick.
One rebuttal.
Go for it.
I will give you Roman Reigns and I will give you Dean Ambrose. I do not know how you can sit there and say you do not think of Seth Rollins, who was the inaugural NXT champion. That is
just because he predates. He do, but not the same way.
He doesn't predate NXT. He is. No. He's the first ever champion.
Because he came through SCW, and I'm not saying that's left field. I'm just saying that I think I just wanted to make that point as well. We're going to dive into the black and gold era when it was the third brand, but I think the purpose was to develop people for the main roster, and
I don't disagree with that.
Certainly Roman Reigns is the guy who was nothing in NXT.
I'll 100% give you that.
My issue with it is you've picked 3 superstars who weren't a stable in NXT. They were a stable in the main roster.
That's a good point.
So you've broken your own rule.
I mean, the rules I don't want.
Right, now we're in this Monday Night Raw general manager laptop era where you just do what you like.
And do I volunteer to go next?
I am happy to go next.
Roscoe, take it away. 90 seconds starts now.
Okay, so when I thought about this list throughout the day, I really just sort of sat down and went, when I think of NXT, who do I think of? And then just kind of went from there. So I kind of had to shuffle these around to work out who the number 1 pick is. So I think that there's probably 2 or 3 on my list in general could be the number 1, but the number 1 I've went up for is who I think, in my opinion, most embodied NXT, but has also had some longevity. Now, this could be open to judgment because there are certainly a few people that were buzzing around in this roster at the same time. But I went for Bayley is up there as one of those people that when you sit and think of NXT, she is absolutely up there. 4 years that she was on there. Only a one-time NXT Women's Champ, which is a stick that you could beat her with, but you had Charlotte Flair, you had Becky, you had Sasha Banks, as she was known. Don't know what she does now these days, but she had this serious connection with the fans, and that is still there to this day. The longevity is clearly there because she's still around. She's up there as one of, if not maybe the women's NXT GOAT, purely from that era, not necessarily coming out of it. That's up for debate, but a lot of the successes that the other women at the time came from, I think they had their successes when they moved up. Whereas to me, I sit and close my eyes in NXT, it is that Bayley who was just so over in like every feud that she was in. She should have won
Time up.
more, and I think she's on it.
I'll throw you a bone and just say that I've got Bailey on my list, and obviously I'm going to skip that pick. And the reason I put Bailey on there is because I think she is the best example of developed to the main roster whilst also having NXT success. Not many people did both.
I have a bone to pick with that.
No, I'm not saying there is other. What I think she did both. I think the biggest issue she had was they couldn't find a spot for her on the main roster for a long time. She just sat there waiting.
Yeah.
Would you like to go next, Brother Bear, or would you prefer me to go?
I'll go next. Why no? So
90 seconds, go.
I chopped and changed this pick between two names, but when I think of NXT and I think of Black and Gold, my name that comes to mind is Adam Cole, baby. He's been a bit quiet with what he's been up to quite recently, but when you rattle off his NXT achievements, he was the first ever NXT North American champion in that insane ladder match. He was one of the longest reigning NXT champions. The Undisputed Era dominated NXT with gold, countless Match of the Year nominations and awards, Superstar of the Year awards. When I think of Black and Gold, I think of Adam Cole.
Baby!
I love that.
Give us back half his time. His debut as well was phenomenal.
Yeah. Oh, 100%.
Because you could tell he was not expecting the crowd to chant his name either when he posed.
He's number 2 on my list. So I'm not going to argue with any of what you've just said. I think the guy is probably and it's interesting because I get to do my number 1 pick in a second, but I actually think the guy is the biggest thing to have been in NXT ever for his longevity in NXT. But
not on my list at all.
Wild, in my opinion. But
I agree with that as well, but I'm interested now.
I just think, no, I mean, I don't disagree with the pick. I think there's just two things missing. One is I wanted to see it in the main roster. Another thing is I'd have loved to have seen him as a manager. I just think that'd be really, really good for his character. Like potentially Keith Lee, maybe. Here's my
question. I've got a question for you, Sanders.
I've got a question for you.
How is, I would like to have seen it on the main roster, a barometer for NXT?
Because it's
Mount Rushmore.
That's the part of the purpose.
Yeah, I know, but is his booking his fault?
No, I'm taking the piss because that was the whole point. Vince McMahon wanted to manage Keith Lee. That's what I'm taking the piss.
Yeah.
Whereas if he'd waited 2 months, he probably would be one of the mainstays on the main roster.
Aye.
So I'm going to give you my number 1 pick. Can I get the 90 seconds up there?
It's going.
Right. Oh, great. So my number 1 pick when I think about NXT, and it takes me back to the measuring stick that you used, Saunders, is all about developing talent, take them out onto the main roster. And there has never been a more able talent to come out of NXT ready to be world champion than Finn Balor. He is exactly what NXT is. It's the blueprint for NXT. And he's one of the few guys to ever have achieved it. Unfortunately, was hampered by injury and has never actually lived up to the heights that he could have. But again, that's not his fault, which is why I had such a bone to pick with you there. Yeah, I'm not really going to say too much more. Finn Balor was incredible in NXT. He had incredible feuds and really propelled it towards the Black and Gold era. He was one of those guys who put it on his back and carried it to make it the third brand for the period that it was. So for me, Finn Balor, the Prince.
I'm going to
saved a bit of time because that was my number 2. So
he was also on my list as well, flirting between 2 and 3. So an excellent choice.
He's genuinely was my next pick as well. And the only reason I didn't put he is my number 1. The reason I'm making my first pick was to try and
break the rules, basically.
But break the rules and throw out the fact that we can talk shit about this. But there's actually something that you missed it, but he's returned to NXT multiple times, elevated people and carried stories. And then when you saw him,
90 seconds, to be fair, I could have spoken about that for 90 minutes.
And then when you saw him at Homecoming last week as well, the pop, the reaction, that music, the entrance, the demon. He came into NXT as one of the top professional wrestlers in the world and somehow got better. And as you say, if he doesn't separate his shoulder 8-9 years ago, where is he now? You know what I mean? Multiple time
10-time world
champion.
champion, 100%,
100%.
double digits.
Just
something crazy.
Just
really
on
like
that as well, the Demon, when it debuted in NXT, the aura, every time it was used, it was a spectacle, and they've somehow managed to kill that in the main roster in the last 6 years.
Whoa, Demonito is
here's-
incredible.
Here's where I am. I'm going to just open up the chat box for a quick second. Are we in agreement that if we were doing a combined list, Balor's on there?
Yeah.
Oh, well, we all
Aye.
have picked them, so.
So Finn Balor, number one, Mount Rushmore as a combined pick. I think we're going to converge at some point here, aren't we? Because I've got Bailey as well, and we can argue that at the end. I'll go next because this will be my last pick. Because it was going to be next anyway, and
Yeah.
I've obviously went with the Shield, Balor, and I've piggybacked on Bailey. So I'm going to go there now because I think this is quite a controversial one. I think it's not controversial, but it's not maybe the name you think of, but it's very similar to what you said. Daz with Balor is somebody who came into it as a top professional wrestler, ascended to the top of NXT, put the next person over, had an incredible main roster debut as part of something that a type of feature we love, a US Open Challenge. That is prizefighter Kevin Owens. He again was one of the guys who left NXT at the time when it became the third brand. He was part of that elevating. He developed, went to the main roster, became Universal Champion. Carries feuds better than almost ending the business does. Makes them feel incredible. Works as a heel, works as a face. Devastating moves. That package pile driver to Cody Rhodes at the start of the year. I just think he's one of the best in the business, and I think he's on my Mount Rushmore at NXT.
I don't think you can argue it.
No, I'm not going to argue it. And everybody here knows I am a massive Kevin Owens fan, and it broke my heart to leave him off my list, based purely on the achievements of the other two people that are left on my list, unfortunately. But KO is... See, for a guy to be away from NXT for that long and return at War Games to the pop that he got, he's a bit of a modern day Stone Cold in the sense that nobody hates him, no matter what character he's actually portraying. I don't think anybody genuinely dislikes him. Which speaks a lot.
He's also legitimately funny as fuck.
Yes, and he was one of the best heels in the business, him and Y2J. That whole Festival of Friendship was arguably one of the better angles in the modern era. So I'm not going to argue with you, mate. No way.
I love the guy.
You talk about that debut as well. He marched down that ramp as NXT champion, went toe to toe with the biggest name this industry's ever created, and beat him clean in his first match on the main roster. Like, nobody else, in my mind, debuts like that.
No,
and people will still say that John Cena buries young talent.
Yeah.
I'm very aware that we've had the overlap. Does anybody want to volunteer? And we'll.
How many of you got left, Ross, to talk about? One or two?
So I had Balor as well. So I would say that I have two left to speak about this evening.
You go next.
I also have two.
All right, you go next, then you can go, Adam.
60 seconds, Roscoe. Starts now.
Okay, so again, this guy actually has a very coveted title that you gentlemen may not be aware of, as he is one of the few wrestlers in which I actually have a piece of merchandise for. So really, he should be thanking us for this level.
Joe Hendry.
It's not, because that's coming soon. No, so this guy was in NXT for 2 years, and I thought he was an absolutely fantastic, dominant heel. He actually was mentioned earlier on in our pre-pod chat. I think Samoa Joe actually needs to be quite far up there on this so-called Mount Rushmore that we're building. Entrance music was fantastic. Crowd immediately would get in. He was like solid on the main roster as well. Like, he was in the main roster for 4 years? Exactly. Daz gets it. 3 times NXT champion, Dusty Rhodes Tag Team Classic winner with Finn Balor. The guy was absolutely class. I think we'd all love to see him back in the E at some point. Get him on the mountain.
I can't argue that pick. He's in that list of, like, I don't know. I just think
he lacks the achievements at NXT
Two-time champ,
other
but
people have. I know that other people
I know.
have around about them. I think
Mm.
as a wrestler, I think he's probably top 5 to have ever been in. In terms of what he's contributed to the wider wrestling business, 100%.
And the
I'm
single
not
best,
going to argue with you. But-
best thing they did was find a way to keep his music similar to everything new from his TNA days. So
Yeah.
when that
Mhm.
music hit, as you say,
Yeah.
the Joe chant started and people were into it, and that was him.
Mhm.
He probably should have been world champion in the main roster as well. I think
Should have been.
barring injuries, he would have been.
Should have been.
Adam, do you still have to?
I do still have to.
So better.
60 seconds starts now.
So when Ross was rightfully bigging up Bailey, he mentioned that the 3 other women that were in that four horsewoman group all achieved their success in the main roster. And the biggest question was, when Bailey finally made that step up, who was left in that women's division? And that question was answered by the Empress of Tomorrow, Asuka. Still the longest reigning women's champion in NXT history, the longest undefeated streak in WWE history. That momentum carried over to the main roster. You would probably be able to count bad Asuka matches on one hand. And even today, there's still compelling stories going with that heel turn on Monday night to set up the program with Io and Rhea. It's going to be off the charts. So Asuka is on my Mount Rushmore of NXT.
Me
I
too.
love it. That's a really,
Me
really
too.
good shout.
Me too. I'm adding her to the collective one because she was the one I was thinking to be that spare slot I had. And the reason the reason that I struggled to say it's definitely her, because I hate the fact that she lost that first Mania match to Charlotte.
Yeah.
I think that was such a huge mistake. But
I think there's something really important though about her.
But 2 weeks ago, as you and I agreed, she's arguably the greatest champion in NXT history, male or female, because that run was so dominant and so good.
There's another thing to consider. Like, she was the women's champion at the peak where it outperformed Raw and SmackDown.
Mhm.
She was the women's champion where the 2 big names were getting battered by the developmental. But not only that, she had that massive title reign. She didn't even lose the title.
No,
She
I know.
vacated it because she was injured. She did not drop that title. She was third on my list. She's head and shoulders, in my opinion, and is often overlooked because of the 4 horsewomen and what they've gone on to achieve. I think she's
Well-
definitely overlooked when people talk about achievements in NXT. She was insane.
It's really interesting who we've picked here, because we're basically unanimous on Asuka and Balor, and part of that is like the 4 horsewomen again were slightly before Black and Gold became the third brand, and you see it was outperforming the other 2. They did their work. They were developed, like, because Becky Lynch's NXT run was pretty underwhelming until she got that kind of Magic the Gathering inspired character. She was doing an Irish jig in the middle of the ring and was probably 3 or 4 weeks from being released. I think it was basically Dusty that saved her, saying, no, there's something there. We need to figure it out. Sasha and Bailey both had their one run before moving on, and Charlotte's obviously, to be fair, did back in and out a couple of times. Are we in agreement then that Balor and Asuka are consensus 2 out of the 4
Yeah,
slots in a combined unit? I want to throw, have you all got one left?
Adam,
Yes. So I want to throw just one honourable mention, because I don't think either of you guys are going to pick them, but I think we do need to mention.
I think you should wait.
Do you?
Aye, because you might say it and then that fucks one else. I think that would be unfair.
Oh, that's fine. That's what I've done. Any volunteers to throw the last pick out first?
I want to hear Adam's. Actually, I want to force Adam into the spotlight here. I want to hear his.
60 seconds ad starts now.
As much as I would have loved to include somebody that would send Darren into a spiral of rage, he's not on this list.
Good on you.
I am going with the person I felt as the heartbeat when NXT was in its pomp as Black and Gold. Crowds loved him. Johnny Gargano.
Oh, I thought it was Fandango.
Johnny Gargano to me was the guy who never should have made it, but did make it through talent, hard work. Fans loved him. Even when they turned him heel and he started the faction the way, he was still getting babyface reactions eventually, because that NXT crowd just adored Johnny Gargano, and that feud with Adam Cole will live with me forever. I don't think I've ever heard a crowd react to a kick out like Johnny Gargano when he kicked out Adam Cole.
I think it's a great show.
Yeah, I'm not going to argue with Johnny Wrestling, not at all.
I think he'll make the combined 4 once we discuss.
I don't know. I'm not sure.
Whoa.
Because the last name I've got is I'm assuming both Ross and I have a male superstar left.
Yeah.
You want your clock on, or are you going to talk about Johnny Gargano first?
No, let Ross go. I'm happy to let
Okay.
Ross go, but I just wanted to say something on Johnny Wrestling. He's one of the guys who was, like Adam says, he never should have succeeded, but did. But he's never been able to get that on the main roster. And again,
Yes.
I don't think that's his fault. It's just the brand of wrestling on the main roster does not suit him and Ciampa, to be honest.
Just let him wrestle Ciampa. Just
Just
let them
wrestle
wrestle each
over
other
and
every week. Just every
like-
week.
It's like Sammy and Kevin Owens. They could wrestle each other every week and
Yeah.
no one would get bored of it. But no, I think he's a great pick.
It's,
And I hope to leave him out of mind, to be honest.
I had to leave him out of mind, and it was for this. You know, the 2 reasons I didn't want, I did leave him out. One was I was taking some main roster consideration into it, because I think that was the purpose. But the other reason was that I couldn't pick him without also picking Ciampa and Cole. And I was like, well, that's 3 or 4 spots, but I wanted Balor and Bailey and Asuka.
If
and I was
only
like,
you used your wild card correctly, Saunders.
I think I did.
I don't, but let's not get into the politics.
No.
He wants to come back. He's not going to say anything. I'm a regular.
Roscoe, 60 seconds, final pick. Go.
I took a little bit of a twist here, actually, mainly
Nice.
because
Nice.
I actually
Henry.
thought Gargano was on there. But I think it'll cause a little bit of discussion. He was only actually in NXT for 13 months, officially. I actually thought that Bobby Roode has got to be someone who's up there as someone who needs to be considered. I chucked him in next. I thought it would be a good discussion point. Had some great matches, like the title matches versus Nakamura, the couple against Drew McIntyre. Drew actually gave him his first singles loss with that match in particular. You hear that glorious one word, you can close your eyes and you can just see all and hear all. He knows the business as well because he's still involved with the E. The guy was obviously fantastic around there. Had a nice little main roster run. I think he deserves a little bit of credit. And I thought, screw it, I'm going to do just that. So, Bobby Roode, get him on the mountain.
Arguably the greatest entrance of all time.
Don't hate
You
that.
say-
So good.
You say you hear that glorious. It doesn't even need to get glorious. That intro on the piano is enough.
Oh, yeah.
I think
It's so good.
The 13-month thing doesn't matter, because that was the era where once a year they would sign a big name from another promotion to be the top guy and be a focal point. So they did it with Drew McIntyre, did it with Shinsuke. Before that, they had Kevin Owens after Sami Zayn, and it was always like, that's the next guy to help sell everybody else. So he did his job for 13 months. That was his job, was to be the guy in NXT. And arguably the main roster one could have been better, but his career was behind him at that point. He'd been TNA World Heavyweight Champion and carried TNA. And as you say, he's now a producer. He's very well respected. He learned the WWE side of the business, and he's involved because of that. So his contribution to the business still exists.
He's built to become an NXT champion was excellent. See his fatal 4-way match, Ty Dillinger, Roderick Strong, and Andrade Cien Almost. And obviously Andrade's a hot topic. He's recently left the business. As a guy, I really struggled to leave it because Andrade in NXT was incredible. And then obviously he goes over against Shinsuke. And some of the people he wrestled, it's probably some forgotten names like Killian Dane, stuff like guys who,
Yeah.
like Adam mentioned, with a heartbeat of NXT, it's these guys that kept Black and Gold ticking over, because outside of your big names and your big feuds, there was massive talents on there, and Velveteen Dream.
These were the guys that created a need for a second level title on
Yeah.
a development show. That's how good these guys were, because it was like, we've got so much work for these guys to do. We need to have somewhere else for them to work. And Bobby Roode made my top 10, but so did 15 other people. So it's pretty hard to say narrow it in. Daz, you've been holding this pick back, and I'm really intrigued.
Yeah.
Your 60 seconds.
It's
Final
Sami
pick
Zayn.
starts now.
I'll be the ultimate fucking heel turn. No, my final pick is probably a bit more left field because I've gone post Black and Gold era because I think he deserves it. And it was a really tricky time because NXT could have fully floundered when it became NXT 2.0. Braun Breaker should be on the NXT Hall of Fame and up there with the other stars that we've mentioned. I'm not going to go too big because his title reigns were so long that he's wrestled just about everybody, but he's got a resume that has wins over Gunther. He has a resume which has multiple wins over Dolph Ziggler, who's a vet. He's won tag team championships with Baron Corbin. He won the Dusty Rhodes Classic with Baron Corbin. He wrestled Seth Rollins during his time in NXT, and really got himself in the limelight. He helped get JD McDonough over in his debut. Braun Breaker should be there.
I can't argue.
Also unified the titles, unified the UK title.
That was the pick that I went, oh, I didn't realise just how long he held the titles when we were looking at the list.
I think his first run was over a year.
Aye.
It was 361 days or something. Aye.
It's hard to judge because it felt like there was no one else in his level at the time and what was a declining product, but at the same time, it turned him from an athlete and a wrestler to future WrestleMania main eventer.
If I had more time, I would have compared it to Cena at the peak of the PG era, where he was flogging a dead horse and trying to keep it alive, and that's what he did for NXT for a long time.
100%. So we're 26 minutes in. We'll keep this under 30 minutes. We've got to round out our combined Mount Rushmore, but I did want to throw in one honourable mention that we all didn't mention, I'm guessing for the same reason, but it is worth pointing out that William Regal is a huge, huge part of what NXT was, and what a guy. Not only was he the GM and he was an on-screen talent and of course streaming War Games every 12 months as he did last week, which was great fun, but he was the head scout essentially, and he was the guy that travelled the world and he handpicked people to be in NXT and to be WWE superstars. So he's not going to make the Mount Rushmore because the point of this is obviously to pick on-screen wrestlers that performed in the ring. But I think if we were saying honourable mention, William Regal is such an integral part of why NXT was successful and still is successful, and why Triple H fought to bring him back from the other place.
Yeah, the only other person I would mention who deserves it is Triple H. Triple H booked NXT to the fucking moon and made it the third brand, which actually became the first brand. So, aye, honourable mentions for both, defo. And I'm intrigued to see who gets...
Hand it to the right person as well.
Yeah.
Now,
I'm intrigued to see who gets on the joint Mount Rushmore.
So we've got Balor and Asuka locked. And I would say, based on what we've all said, is it two of Gargano, Bailey and Cole? I think Braun Breaker. I think
Adam Cole should be there.
I don't disagree.
I think Johnny Gargano should be there.
See the issue I've got, right? See if you pick Adam Cole and Braun Breaker, you've picked my Mount Rushmore.
Aye.
So listen, I'm willing to concede Braun Breaker because it wasn't at the heights of Black and Gold when the product was at its best.
And
I would be happy. I would be happy to cede it to Johnny Wrestling. It's the only one I'd be happy to concede Braun Breaker to be fair. But Johnny Wrestling, I could not argue. It'd have been the same for Ciampa maybe as well.
Aye. That's why I tried to throw in the wild card to somebody, because we could swap Johnny Gargano for DIY, but it's a wee bit cheaty, isn't it?
No, I think Johnny Gargano was better than DIY, personally.
I think they both were better than DIY in NXT when they both had that solo run at their pomp. That heel turn by Ciampa though.
Arguably my favourite ever NXT moment is Johnny Gargano lifting the NXT title and going to the camera. He's right behind me, isn't he? And Ciampa's standing with the ring brace on, and you're like, it's just absolute cinema. So the official, well, I think if we revisit this in the future, we could be possibly try to shoehorn Braun Breaker in it, depending on what the future holds for him, because he is straight the rocket, fire it to the fucking moon and see what happens type talent. But the official Golden Shovel NXT Mount Rushmore: Finn Balor, Asuka, Adam Cole, Johnny Gargano. Let us know in the comments down below on YouTube. Click the link for Buzzsprout if you want to talk to us through the audio system. Let us know your thoughts, any obvious disagreements. We would never argue back with MD because there's another 5 people we could have put in there, but for us, these are the guys who represent what NXT was, what it became, and the legacy that's left behind. Take it easy, guys. We'll catch you on Wednesday for the usual pod.